This is unreal, as Montreal has been linked to a relentless winger in the upcoming draft, as Malcolm Spence, according to Tankathon, will land to Montreal at number 17, and his offensive profile and also his disruptiveness, including this insane play here to break up a play in the offensive zone to score a goal, have had a lot of scouts looking at him as a potential impact player in the NHL. We have to take a look at Malcolm Spence and the incredible season he had, but it's not just that. We have to take a deeper dive into Adam Engstrom and how he is shooting up the Habs prospect ranks for multiple reasons. And a final note that we saw that indicates that size may not be everything for the NHL, as Montreal, well, this is some pretty good news for our team. So we'll get into all that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. But guys, quick reminder, we are less than 100 subs away from 21,000. If you don't mind, check if you're subscribed. We got Habs content coming literally every single day, all off season long, going into the draft. This is the spot to be. Jesse, let's start with this stat here. Now, this is courtesy of Alexander Appleyard on X, and I saw this there, and, we both saw this, and it's pretty interesting. So take a pause, have a look at it if you want, but basically the average NHL height right now, 6 foot, 1.6. Fair enough. Here's the last 9 cup winners. You will notice that most of their top 6 forwards are actually below average height in red. Their top 4 and kind of defensemen, some of them are above, some of them are below average. You can feel free to take a deeper dive there, but it's interesting that 0 of the last 9 cup winners were above NHL average height size in terms of size. 5 out of 9 cup winners were actually bottom 10 in the league. So Jesse, with Montreal, who's projected to have a bottom 5 height lineup this upcoming season, you know what? I know we talk about wanting to grit and stuff like that, but this is very interesting. That paints a very clear picture that, hey, if you have the skill, you don't always need everyone to be big.
It's not everything, but we definitely see more Florida, right, where they're getting to the Cup Finals 2 years in a row. They have the size. For me, Josh, I think that's the size plus the forechecking of using it, size plus speed, kind of wearing them down over the playoffs. That is just such a great recipe. I feel like the Montreal Canadiens, that's something they're looking to adopt all the same. We noticed these last 2 years, though, we do see some positive kind of size, there. Well, but at the same time, previous to that, it doesn't paint the full picture. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I think, forechecking, we can all agree when it comes down to playoffs, just that grinding type of game, that seems to be what it's all really about in that war of attrition. And again, this is important for Kent Hughes as he's really kind of figuring out how we're going to build this team going forward and what's really going to be that perfect fit. We know that we are prioritizing size just because of what we already have in the lineup. I think that just makes sense, and that is the right way to go. While we see from here, it's not always everything. Obviously weight comes into this picture, but also kind of that intensity and obviously that willingness to use it as well.
The numbers don't paint the full picture. When you have a guy like Sam Bennett who's not 6'5", but he plays a lot bigger than he is, right? This kind of player. What I do find interesting though is that 6 out of 9 teams had small top 6 forwards, but 6 out of 9 had objectively big top 4D. And hey, we could do a whole video on this, honestly, but with Reinbacher coming in, Jesse, replacing a guy like Savard, adding that size on the D-core, it does make a difference. But anyway, let us know what you guys think. What's your interpretation of that info down below? Because I think there might even be a bigger can of worms, especially when we're looking at who we're trading for, signing this offseason, drafting. This might come right back into play. But we got to move quickly. We got a lot to cover today, Jesse. And I want to talk a bit about Adam Engstrom. This guy has been great. As the recording of this video, just ignore the score of the Laval-Charlotte game. But it doesn't matter because Adam Engstrom has been unbelievable. Now, there's an article linked down below. It talked about Adam Engstrom quite a bit. Look, Montreal does not want to find reinforcements on the farm. If they don't want to find reinforcements on the farm, they could look to Adam Engstrom, the smooth skating defenseman that was promoted to the top pairing once Tyler Witherspoon succumbed to a nagging injury. He has work to do. Look, his D coverage, but he's been playing pro hockey since 2022, Jesse. And when you watch him, when you watch Laval, this guy stands out every single night. And I know Montreal has a lot of left-hand shot defensemen with Hutson, Guhle, Matheson, Xhekaj, and Struble. But again, assuming that there's a trade coming this summer where you imagine someone on that D-core is going to get moved, and it doesn't even need to be for next season. Matheson's contract's expiring after this year. This is not just something we're talking about for this upcoming year, but the years after as well. And honestly, I have been beyond impressed with Adam Engstrom. Even when you compare him to other guys on this list, like David Reinbacher or even a Logan Mailloux, it's this guy's honestly showing me that I would not be surprised to see him on the Habs main roster as early as some point this season.
And it's kind of that flexibility that even though he's a left-hand shot D, the fact that he can play that right-hand side so effectively, that is really going to be so important for him going forward. You have to feel right now, he's rising up those depth charts just really quickly. And again, having played a little bit of that pro hockey, that's what might be that inside track over Reinbacher and Mailloux. That's that big competition right now. But we can't forget him, as well as we know that there's going to be some Montreal Canadiens prospects that are going to be part of some trades this summer. And we can't completely forget Engstrom out of this, because he is really intriguing all the same, like just being so elusive on the ice. And he is even getting like some comparisons to Rasmus Dahlin, of course, like not being as good as somebody who went first overall, but again, like being very smooth, elusive. We're seeing him out there doing the spinoramas out there on the ice. And again, there is a little bit of give and take with his game of, again, similar to Mailloux, similar to Hutson. Matthew, you see this issue we're having right now, Josh? Like, we have so many guys that are a little bit more like offensive oriented than defensively. Like Engstrom, even today, we're seeing like there's give and takes with his game. But that being said, there's some really positive stuff, even though he's not the most engaging physically, that positioning there. So going to be very interesting to see where this goes forward. But like, I, for one, I'm a big fan of Adam Engstrom.
Yeah, me too as well. And I'm quite a big fan, especially after watching what he did in the preseason last year. And honestly, in the one Laval game I went to during these playoffs, like, he actually, like, against Rochester, he had multiple unbelievable defensive plays in 2-on-1. So, like, those flashes are there. It's not like he's not capable. And he does it pretty consistently through the season. It's just about doing it night in, night out. And, hey, he has some pretty good potential. So let us know your thoughts on Adam Engstrom down below and how he compares to some of our other guys. Like, I still think Reinbacher is that kind of guy who's pretty much a lock unless we bring in someone else to fill in a top 4 right D role, like a Rasmus Anderson or something like that. But Engstrom's a guy, you can't sleep on him. But final thing today, Jesse, I love doing draft talk. It's that season, right? We're getting towards the draft. We're excited for what Montreal is going to look like in the future. And hey, some of these picks might get moved, but as of this moment, we don't know that for sure. So let's take a dive in now. And this comes from Tankathon, which is one of the most fun websites pre-draft lottery when you can do the simulation. But they actually have Malcolm Spence going at 17 to Montreal. Now, he's ranked as high as 12 by some outlets. He's ranked as low as like 23 or 25, I think, in the Athletics mock draft. But he's a very talented player. And Jesse, you put it great in just one word by saying relentless. And that's exactly what Malcolm Spence does. Now, he's a Michigan commit as well. So he'll be playing with Michael Hage next year. 32 goals in 65 games this year, 73 points. He's got a bit of a physical edge with that 57 penalty minutes. He's 6'1", 203, 18 years old, Jesse. He's a disruptor. He got size and speed. He breaks plays up. He doesn't have many flaws. Any team that gets him will get a guy who's impacting all over the ice. Now, we'll revisit some of these points here. I'll just roll the highlights, Jesse. Honestly, like, again, there's a lot of names that could go to Montreal at this point. We've talked about Carbonneau. We've talked about Hensler. We've talked about Lakovich. Malcolm Spence is one of these guys that, honestly, like, just one of those guys that feels like since he has that goal-scoring touch, could be a serious impact player for a lot of teams.
For sure. And Ken Hughes has done such a great job of drafting that I'm just genuinely so excited to see who we're going to pick, like which player. This is such an amazing exercise of like which player is going to be part of this organization very, very soon contributing. We've seen the effect of just obviously what this can have on this team when we just draft the right way of what we're doing right now. And this is a huge opportunity to continue this. And as I'm kind of watching the tape on this young player, like, can you still say that in 2025? Watching the tape. Anyway, it's like this guy just comes across as really like a two-way guy, as we're seeing from the highlights here, right? Like, again, that's what I like. It's like a defense first, because that was more of his coach at that OHL level. But then he's shown that he can bring that offensive game too, of again, like being like so aggressive on the forecheck. As we mentioned earlier, that's just so effective for like winning hockey. So for me, I get like, you see like the leadership. He's a high character guy because he's playing the type of game that just allows for the entire team to win. Amazing also at setting other people up, like just a great passer type setup, just really plays that complete game all the way through. So a lot to like with that physicality, but again, also showing a very good scoring touch as well.
Yeah, and again, it's not like he had unproductive seasons. Like his year before is draft -1. Or I guess draft -1. Yeah, I think 62 points in 66 games with 19 goals. Like you said, he is a playmaker, but he's showing that goal scoring ability. But by the way, this scouting report that I'm showing here, I will link it down below from the Hockey Writers. Fantastic write-up. There's a lot more there. Please go check it out. But look, again, disruptor, like that kind of player, Jesse. The guy, he compares himself. The number one guy he said was Carter Verhaeghe. And look, Carter Verhaeghe is a winning player who steps up when his team needs it the most. That's something Malcolm Spence has done as well. He scored a golden goal in the tournament. Like, he's a clutch performer just like Verhaeghe. Has a bit of an edge, kind of like Verhaeghe does. He also compared himself to Matt Boldy, who is a phenomenal goal scorer and point getter in this league, right? So he elevates the level of a top prospect, what he's able to do after breaking up a play. And this play here, breaking it up off that pass along the boards, wrapping it around, is exactly that, Jesse. Look, Yeah, there's sometimes he can make a simpler play, but to me, the one thing I really like about him is he seems to have that kind of pseudo leadership role. Like, he's in there, and they say here, he's one of their alternate captains. He leads by example. He does noteworthy work helping others get into the game of hockey as well. For years, he has been a guy trying to get, other black people or people of color into hockey, which is a phenomenal thing for him as well. Like, character guy plus the grit on the ice plus the goal scoring Jesse, like, again, to me that just kind of fits the Habs mold, and I really, really like it.
For sure. And again, the size is very much there at 6'2". But again, it's the weight here at 201 pounds. Like, that is a very solid frame out on the ice already for being a young man to really kind of grow forward to. Again, just playing that winning type of hockey. Again, like we've loved guys like Gallagher, but again, this is somebody who brings that aggressive type of style, but more size and probably a little bit more of a natural, like kind of scoring touch. Maybe a guy who might have that potential, like where Gallagher peaked out at that 30 goals, to maybe get this a little bit more consistently. Like, that would be amazing for Malcolm Spence if it did end up being there. But again, there is a reason why he's been highly touted for a while now to be a first round pick. Again, so happy to see him going to the NCAA. Kind of part of that first crowd now, going there to kind of develop, obviously, because they have amazing systems over there. And again, having a couple prospects where you can kind of pay attention to a couple guys at the same time would be some pretty good feng shui just for the Montreal Canadiens organization.
Love it. Well, let us know what you guys think down below. I mean, he's definitely one of these names we got to keep an eye on. We have a long list of them, and if we don't trade the picks, hey, maybe some of these names will come true. But leave your thoughts on everything down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.